Mike was just another delivery driver navigating downtown traffic when the 7.2 earthquake hit without warning. To panicked survivors, he seemed like an ordinary guy in a delivery uniform trying to help. But Mike's calm efficiency in the chaos came from 18 years as a Navy SEAL medic who had saved lives in the world's most dangerous places. And today, those life-saving skills would turn his delivery van into a mobile trauma center that rescued dozens from the rubble. Welcome to Hidden Warriors. Tell me in the comments what city you're watching from today. And if stories like this prove heroes drive more than just packages, hit that subscribe button. Mike Thompson had been driving delivery routes through downtown Portland for 8 years, working for Pacific Express Logistics with perfect safety record and top customer ratings. His colleagues knew him as a reliable professional who knew every street and could navigate traffic jams that stopped other drivers cold. Mike's efficiency came from his ability to remain calm during emergencies and handle crisis situations. His background showed former military logistics specialist who transitioned to civilian delivery work. Clean record, excellent references, steady reliability. But Mike's real identity was Petty Officer Mike Thompson, former Navy SEAL medic who had spent 18 years providing emergency medical care in combat zones. His specialty was battlefield trauma medicine, keeping people alive under impossible conditions using minimal equipment and maximum expertise. His delivery job wasn't career change, it was perfect cover. For 8 years, Mike had used delivery routes for discreet emergency response positioning, maintaining advanced medical supplies in his van that could save lives during disasters. Petty Officer Thompson had joined Navy SEALs in 1989, specializing in combat medical operations. His training combined advanced tactics with medical expertise for providing emergency surgery in hostile environments where traditional support was impossible. During SEAL service, Mike participated in classified operations where his role was keeping team members and civilians alive during extended missions far from medical facilities. His specialty was improvised trauma medicine, using non-medical equipment for life-saving care when proper supplies weren't available. After SEAL service, Mike worked with federal emergency response teams during major disasters, earthquakes, hurricanes, terrorist attacks where local medical facilities were overwhelmed. His experience taught him that during disasters, official services became overwhelmed within minutes, leaving hundreds without critical care. His delivery position provided perfect emergency response positioning, city-wide mobility, advanced medical supplies disguised as cargo, and ability to respond immediately without waiting for official coordination. At 2:47 p.m. on Tuesday afternoon, Mike was completing a routine delivery to a downtown office building when the 7.2 magnitude earthquake struck without warning. The initial shock lasted 38 seconds, followed by aftershocks that continued collapsing, weakened structures, and trapping additional victims under shifting debris. Mike's SEAL training allowed him to maintain balance and situational awareness during the earthquake, while most people panicked or became disoriented. As buildings swayed and windows shattered around him, he was already assessing damage patterns, identifying collapse zones, and planning response priorities based on where victims were most likely to be trapped alive. Within minutes of the earthquake, Mike's emergency response experience told him that official rescue services would be overwhelmed for hours. The city's emergency medical system was designed to handle normal crisis situations, not massive disasters that created hundreds of casualties simultaneously across multiple locations. Mike immediately converted his delivery van into a mobile medical center, accessing hidden medical supplies that had been carefully positioned for exactly this scenario. Advanced trauma equipment, emergency surgery tools, life support systems, and pharmaceutical supplies that could keep critically injured people alive until proper medical facilities could be restored. His first priority was conducting rapid triage assessment of the immediate area, identifying victims who could be saved with immediate medical intervention versus those who were beyond help or could wait for delayed treatment. His SEAL medical training had taught him to make these life-and-death decisions quickly and without emotional attachment. The most critical situation was a collapsed apartment building 3 blocks from his position, where Mike could hear voices calling for help from beneath tons of concrete and steel debris. His search and rescue experience told him that victims trapped in that kind of collapse had limited time before crush injuries, dehydration, or debris shifting would make rescue impossible. But Mike also identified multiple individual victims throughout the area who needed immediate medical attention to survive. People with severe bleeding, respiratory problems, or traumatic injuries that would be fatal without proper emergency care within the next hour. Mike realized he was facing the exact scenario he had trained for during 18 years of SEAL service and 12 years of disaster response work. A mass casualty situation where one person with the right training and equipment could save dozens of lives that would otherwise be lost before official help arrived. Mike's response drew on 30 years of emergency medical experience in situations where traditional resources weren't available. His delivery van became a mobile trauma center, positioned strategically to provide maximum coverage of the disaster area, while maintaining access to victims who needed immediate evacuation to surviving medical facilities. His first patient was a construction worker trapped under a collapsed storefront who was experiencing severe internal bleeding that would be fatal within minutes without emergency intervention. Using medical equipment from his van, Mike performed emergency surgery on the sidewalk, stabilizing the victim long enough for transport to a hospital that was still operational across town. Mike's SEAL training allowed him to work efficiently under extreme pressure while coordinating multiple rescue efforts simultaneously. He directed uninjured survivors to assist with victim location, taught basic first aid techniques to civilians who could help with less critical patients, and maintained communication with emergency services to coordinate official response efforts. His most challenging rescue involved the collapsed apartment building, where multiple families were trapped beneath debris that required both medical expertise and tactical problem-solving to reach safely. Mike used equipment from his delivery van to create makeshift life support systems that could keep victims alive, while rescue teams worked to create access routes through unstable wreckage. The medical care Mike provided during the first 3 hours after the earthquake included emergency surgery on 17 victims, advanced trauma treatment for 34 others, and basic medical care for over 60 people who would have died or suffered permanent disabilities without immediate professional attention. Mike's disaster response experience proved crucial for managing the psychological aspects of mass casualty situations. He maintained calm authority that prevented panic among survivors, organized volunteer assistance effectively, and provided emotional support for victims who were dealing with traumatic injuries and loss of family members. Most importantly, Mike's tactical background allowed him to anticipate secondary disasters that typically followed major earthquakes, gas leaks that could cause explosions, structural collapses that could trap additional victims, and infrastructure failures that could complicate rescue efforts. By 6 p.m., official emergency services had established organized disaster response capabilities, and Mike quietly transitioned back to his delivery driver cover while continuing to provide discreet medical support for victims who needed continued care but weren't receiving adequate attention from overwhelmed official medical personnel. By the next morning, official casualty reports credited the heroic efforts of first responders, emergency medical teams, and volunteer rescue workers who had saved hundreds of lives during the earthquake disaster. Mike's role in the rescue efforts was mentioned only as local delivery driver who assisted with emergency response, exactly the kind of recognition he preferred. Mike returned to his normal delivery routes, but with enhanced equipment and expanded mission parameters. His success during the earthquake had demonstrated the value of having qualified emergency medical personnel positioned throughout urban areas, ready to respond immediately when disasters overwhelmed traditional emergency services. 3 months after the earthquake, Mike received discreet commendation from federal emergency response agencies for his disaster response work. The citation remained classified, but it authorized him to maintain even more sophisticated medical equipment and coordinate with other covert emergency response personnel positioned throughout the Pacific Northwest. His delivery job continued providing perfect cover for ongoing emergency preparedness work, but now included responsibility for training other civilian personnel who could provide similar rapid response capabilities during future disasters. Mike's earthquake response had become a model for positioning emergency medical resources in major cities nationwide. 6 months later, Mike was approached by a network of former military medical personnel who had been recruited for similar civilian emergency response roles. Delivery drivers, construction workers, and other civilians whose jobs provided citywide mobility and whose backgrounds included advanced medical training. Mike's van was upgraded with even more sophisticated medical equipment, communication systems that could coordinate with multiple emergency response networks, and supplies that could support extended rescue operations during disasters that might isolate areas from official assistance for days or weeks. Have you ever been helped during an emergency by someone whose expertise went far beyond what their job description suggested? The people whose real training emerges when lives depend on more than just professional duties. Share your experiences in the comments. Subscribe to Hidden Warriors for more stories of ordinary workers whose extraordinary backgrounds continue protecting us when disaster strikes without warning. Some heroes wear uniforms, others wear delivery company logos and carry packages that might just save your life. The next time you see a delivery driver navigating through traffic, remember that they might be carrying more than just packages. They might be carrying the skills and equipment that could save your life when everything else fails.